I'm purposefully saging on our call. I usually do this before we start recording, but I thought I would do a little because we're going to be talking about gratitude today. Bring in some mystic smoke. Today's topic is gratitude. And as you can tell, we're into trying to do these slightly on themed. We're trying to plan our content a little bit more on themed topics because we are in the month of November, and this will probably be released around the week of, if you are in the United States, which most of our listeners are, Thanksgiving,
Yay.
the holiday of gratitude. If you haven't listened to our ancestors one, take a peek at that one because we do bring in this really interesting through line of honoring our lineage and our ancestors and moving from the dead into giving thanks for life. I thought that was a really nice slide in to November. And it's a really interesting just tie in to like timelines and nature and life cycles. So check that one out if you haven't. But today we're going to go over gratitude, the importance of gratitude, and we're going to weave it into, of course, what we always do, gratitude in the postpartum phase, specifically in that early phase. Jen and I were thinking maybe talking a little bit gratitude and fertility, but we'll talk about practices we do with our kids and
Yes.
personally.
And I thought it was very interesting because as I was showing up, I was thinking to myself, I am grateful for just showing up today because I'm tired and I have a lot going on in my head. Sometimes I think it's good just to practice showing up and being grateful to yourself for that because it's something so simple to forget.
We'll start with this. I did not pull the research. I probably should have done a little bit more prep, but there is so much research out there around the practice of gratitude scientifically, the benefits of gratitude. And we've seen obviously things like in blue zones and certain cultures and practices of gratitude and how that really impacts the people and their lives. Biologically, it really has an impact as you live day-to-day life. Starting with the importance of gratitude, it really can be life-changing. It really can be. It's interesting because I just think it's very fascinating to look at different cultures that have it a little bit more ingrained into culture. I'm not a huge fan of organized religions in general, but I do have to say that is like one huge benefit of religion is I think there is an element of gratitude in religion and in all religions. I think that is pretty much the case.
One of the challenges I did one time was a gratitude challenge, and you had to write, it started off on 10 gratitudes day and night, immediately when you woke up before you did anything, and then before going to bed, and you'd add 10 more each day. By day 7, you'd have to write out 70 gratitudes. It's so interesting because part of doing the gratitude too was that you had to write, I'm grateful for because. So you're always adding because. And what I really found during this challenge was how challenging it was to pick gratitudes in the beginning because I felt they needed to be more powerful or more meaningful. But then once you start getting to 70 gratitude, the little things actually had as much weight as things as I'm grateful for happiness and my health and my kids and family and those type of things. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be small things too.
We'll get into this when we talk about the practices with my kid, but we do 3 daily gratitudes. And I think when you're doing them so frequently, of course, if you're doing 70, that's pretty intense. You have to do the small ones. And you start to realize, I think that's the whole point, is that the little things count. And we can transition into this whole gratitude postpartum. It can be really a simple practice. It can be very hard. We've talked about this before, being in that postpartum phase. There's so much that can be happening. It can be really intense. You can be really exhausted and overwhelmed. And unfortunately, there's a lot of situations where people are not probably as supported as they should be during this time. And gratitudes in general, one of the benefits of having a gratitude practice or identifying gratitudes is it does increase like oxytocin in your mind because you are able to then connect to little moments of pleasure. You start to realize the tiny things that you're thankful for. And that's rewiring your brain to be able to connect those tiny moments of pleasure, because when we're grateful, we're feeling a feeling of pleasure. That in turn releases oxytocin in our body, and oxytocin is a powerful hormone. It's our love hormone, but it's one that actually will aid in your healing physically and mentally at any time. It's really, really, really important hormone to have during the postpartum phase. Anything we're doing to increase our levels of oxytocin is going to be super beneficial, and it's a small thing you can do to help. I was talking to people recently about connecting to pleasure in this phase, and it can be really hard to connect to pleasure. But a gratitude practice is a simple practice you can do of, okay, that's actually connecting to pleasure when you're realizing the tiny things you're grateful for. I'm grateful for the 30-minute nap I got today. I'm grateful for the warm bowl of soup somebody made me. All these little things. It's interesting because I think it can be really easy or it can be really hard. The gratitudes can be very obvious or it can be really difficult, because both of those are true, because things can be so hard during this phase.
The other important thing too is that it's okay to be frustrated or feel emotions and also still be grateful for that thing at that same time. It doesn't have to be, oh, because I'm frustrated that my baby hasn't slept in the last 2 or 3 hours and therefore I haven't, and I've been up all night, that you can't be grateful for having your little one here in your arms. A lot of people think there has to be just this very singular blissful emotion around it, which I think is ideal. But I think too, just sometimes getting into the practice of it in the beginning, even if it doesn't feel fully grateful, just knowing and practicing eventually over time will train your mind and body to actually begin to feel it.
That's a very, very good point, because this is something we also talk about, holding multiple emotions at once. And gratitude is not here to spiritually bypass or emotionally bypass anything else you're feeling. That's
Mm.
not the point of gratitude at all. If we need our anger, we need our frustration, because all of these emotions are really communicating to us needs of ours. We have a whole episode of met and unmet needs. We'll link that episode, and that's a great one. And that's what our emotions are just telling us. What need here is not being met ultimately. And I agree. We should be able to hold both. And this isn't to replace our anger, it's to be like, I am angry and I am grateful that these little things exist, because we can spiral really easy in one emotion. But when we can hold multiple emotions, then we're expanding our capacity in general from a psychology level. That in turn really does expand our capacity physically as well. It's good to get those little oxytocin hits, even if you are really more deeply in other emotions. You can try to get that little bit of oxytocin for a little bit. It is going to help you ultimately. We have the science, the biology of it, of how it will help you heal, and
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways. But 100%, we're not using gratitude to override other things or ignore other things going on. I think that is a unhealthy use of gratitude, actually. Let's not do that. That's
Yes.
not what we're trying to encourage in any way. At first, I was like, let's just talk about gratitude in this newborn stage, because of how important I think it is. But as we were talking, I also was like, you know what? Fertility is quite a journey for a lot of people.
Yes, it is a journey.
It's very interesting and fascinating just how the different fertility journeys I come across, and the different levels of relation to your whole conception and pregnancy can be very anxious and very stressful for some people. I see some people really stressed out that it took me forever to get pregnant. It took 8 months. And I'm like, that's good. Your body just needed maybe some rebalancing, and it was, or waiting for the right time. When you really want to get pregnant, it can be a very stressful journey. And there's a lot of noise in our world that adds fear and doubt, and clock's ticking, and might as well take control of this thing that we really can't control as much as we can. I don't know if you want to speak to that, and then weaving in gratitude in that journey. I know you do deal a little bit more with fertility journeys than I do.
Yeah, I think as you're speaking, even though it's 8 months, people are like, oh, it's 8 months. It's not really like the calendar feeling of it. It's that feeling of all the emotions that you've been going on roller coaster wise with the hormones or people asking you, all of it, whatever it is for you specifically. And so that 8 months can feel a lot longer. And that's why it's important to have that gratitude practice, because having that gratitude practice puts you in the present moment and reminds you, hey, we're going to take it one day at a time, right? Because that really is that anchor into the journey. If there's something that can anchor you and you have a practice every day to anchor you down, no matter what's going on, what wind is blowing, having that practice to ground you and keep you in the moment is going to really help, like you said, release oxytocin. It's going to help relax the body. It's going to help you be less stressed, hopefully, make you happier. All those things will contribute to better chances with fertility. Of course, you might need other things too, but at least to eliminate or reduce the stress and enjoy the process and bring in gratitude for that reason, at least to really ground you in the presence and remind you that there's also other things important in life than just fertility, because fertility can feel also very all-consuming.
We've said this before, and I'll say it again. When you're able to weave these practices into fertility or your fertility journey, it's then that much easier to practice it when you hit the really turbulent times of pregnancy or postpartum or whatever it is, because there likely will be a turbulent time at some point. The earlier that you can sink into, okay, this is a practice, it's almost like changing a habit you have. Once you can alter that, the earlier on, then that just becomes like what you're doing, and or it's easier to sink back into that habit once you've had some established practice of it. It's just something that's really simple and to do that really has profound impacts. When we shift our focus to something else, that's always the big fertility trick. That it doesn't always work, but the thing you hear all the time is I gave up and or we took a break from trying and then we got pregnant, or with our second one we figured we'd wait and then we got pregnant right away. It happens a lot. So it's a lot of that shifting the focus. It's almost like when we're focusing too hard on something, it doesn't have the space to manifest.
Like when you're doing, say, 70 gratitudes a day, that's when you're like, oh, you start to be grateful for the support that you have from a friend. And so it makes that journey, if you're in fertility or postpartum or even during labor, you can recall that, oh, I'm grateful and I have them. And you could actually call on them too, for example.
I don't know if I'd ever do 70 gratitudes in a day, but hey, that's a challenge. I feel like 10 broken up into two sessions, maybe doing a 20 list at once.
It's a cool challenge. I recommend it to anyone. And just doing it even just once a month is just a great experience.
Well, let's weave in now the practices we do, because I did want to circle back to the fertility journey. And in some way, we're not calling it manifesting, but there is a bit of you can weave in the thoughts of and practices of manifestation practices into gratitude. And one of my favorites is doing gratitudes, and you start with gratitudes that things are actually present in your life. Like, I am grateful for the friend that called me this morning. I am grateful for the car that I get to use and drive places and takes me places. I am grateful that the weather is nice, whatever. You go through all the gratitudes. I am grateful for the library. That's a big one for me. A lot comes up. I'm very grateful for libraries.
Because you add the because.
That's an interesting thing because I actually don't think we need the because. I think
Oh,
that's a little overkill.
okay, okay.
I like to get the least amount of resistance to entry, right,
Mhm.
for people to practice. Honestly, especially once you start doing this with children, when you start to make it too complicated or adding the because, I feel personally listing off things you're grateful for and just identifying them. Yeah, it probably, like, I'm sure there's some deepening of it with adding the because, but I don't know. For my mind, I'm like, I don't know if that ROI of adding the because for the amount of work that is, especially when you're writing, is going to pay off. I do think like just stating out loud what the things you're grateful for is enough. So we'll start with that. Just start,
Bare minimum.
yeah,
Yeah.
like start just saying things you're grateful for. And I think sometimes the because, then we can get more into the analyzing versus just like sinking into the gratitude itself. That's my take on it.
I see the value in that too. And I found, at least with my son, that adding the because made him think a little bit more about the gratitudes and just like repeating the same ones that he did the day before. So I thought that was interesting. And then another reminder came up when I did that 70 gratitudes is that one of them would be, I love my boyfriend because, and so I could write multiple of them. I'm grateful for my boyfriend because, and it could be that same part of the sentence, but for different reasons. So in a way, I do see how valuable it could be just to write it out and not overthink it. I do think that makes you think a little bit more deeply and connect with that emotion. So yeah, maybe sometimes when you're like in the dirt and crap of your emotions, maybe just I'm grateful for this guy, I'm grateful for this. And then if you have the ability to do more, then do that.
Hopefully you're thinking in your mind why you're grateful for it too. And I think with the I'm grateful for my boyfriend, there is a practice of once you are doing it more, and I think this just unfolds naturally once you are in the practice of just doing this over and over every day. It won't be I'm grateful for my boyfriend. It's like I'm grateful that my boyfriend is patient with me. I'm grateful for my boyfriend's patience. Like it gets a little bit more nuanced because you'll notice you're repeating. I think as at least as an adult, I see with a child where I could that could come into play.
It's interesting because as I was repeating back, because of my practice of saying because, it's already inside of my habit to add the because. Very interesting. Fun.
I'm sure we have people in both camps that would agree or see the value of both. Getting back to this practice of weaving in gratitude with manifestation, and they go hand in hand. I like to list off things that I'm grateful for that are present in my life. Then you can easily then slide into things that you are wanting and hoping to manifest, and then say, hey, I am grateful for the conception of my child. I am grateful for the incredible birth team that I have found to support me. It would be interesting to pull more science about this. I do attach to the belief as within, so without. And a lot of our external reality can be reflected from our internal reality. I don't blanket statement that because there's nuances to this, but I do believe that plays a role in internal and external. And when we are sinking into gratitude, first of all, that is going to change our perception and how we approach things. Scientifically, it is changing our body and the way our brain is wiring and firing and some of the hormones that are released, which will then change our body physically and our physiology. On top of that, there is like this whole fake it till you make it in some ways. It's doing that in some senses of really envisioning and almost not tricking our mind, but kind of tricking our mind and tricking our subconscious of this is already here. And when you overlay that with things that are already here, you can start sometimes to do the gratitudes of things you have, gratitudes of things you want. And then if you really get good at it, you can do like one, 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 and you're really like weaving those together. So you're almost tricking your mind. This really exists.
Your mind doesn't know the difference, actually. They've proven that. If you imagine yourself being grateful for those things that you have now and the things that you want, your mind just doesn't actually know the difference.
One of my favorite little studies about this, which might seem really random and not related, is when people lose their legs and you still feel like you have a leg, you can have a fake leg that's there and somebody will put a knife in it and their whole body will react to it because their mind believes that is their leg, even though they know mentally, or like their body believes it, even though they know that's not their leg. There's some great, interesting science stuff out there, but that can be a really powerful practice. So now we're kind of moving into practices, especially if you're in your fertility phase. If you don't believe it, just play with it. Why not, right? It can be a really easy thing. And if you're at that point where I'm trying anything, throw it in the mix.
They said to do that on your vision board too, right? Put photos of things that you already have and then throw it up there with the stuff that you want in your mind. Oh, that's right.
I think I told you that trick, and that's my favorite. And then as you acquire the things that are on your board, you can replace the picture of the thing that like you wanted with actually you.
I love that.
Yeah, practices. Do you have any specific practices?
So we do at the end of dinner, we all sit down for dinner together. At the end of dinner, each of the kids has to be excused. And then they say three gratitudes, three things they're grateful for. Or we have this other set of questions. So each week, they usually will be doing gratitudes at least 3 or 4 times a week. And then we make them do the because. because it can be very long, but it's very cute. With our little one, in the beginning, it's hard to teach a young one what gratitude is sometimes. So we say, like, what do you like? What's your favorite toy? Or what made you happy today? Because that's essentially translating into something that they could be grateful for. For instance, I loved my dinosaur. Oh, you're grateful for your dino. Or I loved going to the park with everybody. Oh, you're grateful we went to the park. You can just word it around based and make it age appropriate, and then they'll just repeat. You help them out. That's a tip for younger kids.
We do three as well. Our life, I think, is not as structured as your life sometimes. The whole sit down dinner thing maybe happens a couple times a week, but I will try to do it daily, and often it's in the car because I find that's a good time when we're driving in the car and so let's do our gratitudes. At first, there was a little resistance to it. I always start, and then it's funny because now my kiddo wants to, no, 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 let me do mine first, and gets on a roll with them, and often it gets to be more than three, and it's fun. It's fun for her now. Uh,
It's funny because I had resistance in the beginning too, so it's very interesting.
One piece I was going to say on that is you practicing it, doing the, okay, we're going to consciously take this time right now to do it, I think is important. And it's a good reminder that we are models for our kids at all time. We are models from pre-birth. When you're practicing gratitude while you're pregnant, I really think that does help. And there is some, again, in utero energy and vibes. I'm gonna go woo woo here. We've talked about the oxytocin. There's chemical changes in your body, and I do think that is felt in utero. And there is studies out there that show our stress levels impact our kids, and to some degree, our thoughts are impacting our babies in utero, right? If we're worried, they say they've shown studies now, if you're stressed about money, that can actually pass down to the child in utero while you're pregnant. There can be a lot parsed out there of like how much of, is that just like the cortisol hormone and this and that. But fact is, it's not going to hurt to do some gratitudes while you're pregnant. We talk about this all the time with elimination communication, but anything you're doing in general, you are the model for your kids. Your kids are watching you all the time. I try to a practice is just remind myself of that, or maybe set a like alarm on your phone and then just weave in random. Isn't it great we have such wonderful friends? I'm so grateful for all the friends in my life. Aren't we fortunate that we get to do XYZ? I'm so grateful that's just a 20-minute drive from us. Trying to weave that into just talking to my child, or like when good things are happening or we've had a great day, talking about why we are grateful for that. And then I think the kiddo then picks up on that, and that becomes more natural for them. How much are we complaining throughout the day? Kids can be a great reflection of this versus actually just expressing our gratitude throughout the day. It's not to say we're overwriting or trying to get rid of the things that maybe we want to complain about, but we can hold both and at least model a little bit of that woven in practice that's really not in our culture. Giving and gratitude is hello Thanksgiving, giving and gratitude. We're in the holiday season.
It's interesting because I guess one way that it's less structured for me that we do is every once in a while when my kiddo is in one of those moods where he's just, no one likes me, he's not feeling anything. I actually stop him. I'm like, okay, I want you to name at least one thing you're grateful for that moment, to start teaching him to shift this a little bit out, right? It's okay to have those emotions, but at this point, you're just like spiraling, just teaching them in those moments too, because that's really where gratitude, why we practice it outside of those times, is so that when we are having a harder time remembering things that we're grateful for, like in the postpartum period, or when we don't have our baby and we're infertile at the moment, that's really when we want to be grateful for all the reasons that we've said before. Teaching kids early on in those moments too can help. It doesn't have to be every time, but just little seeds here and there. And as they go, eventually, maybe they'll learn how to shift out of those things, or like, hey, I'm feeling sad. And also, I'm actually grateful for all my family here with me, even though I don't want to be around them.
And that'd be beautiful. Just wait till the teen years. I feel like I'm already getting these little bits where I'm like, okay, I need to let you feel this feeling. But I think you're right in the sense of having a practice like this, they can then bounce back from it, even if they need to go and they're in their shitty mood for an hour, whatever they need. I think there is a awareness of I really love you. I'm grateful that you're here. My kid will be such a preteen for some reason. And she's not even a preteen. I don't get it. I also see the flip side where when she's able to get to the bottom of that spiral or finally pull out, she does arrive at gratitude or love. As long as we can circle back to that, then we're good, right?
Right. And in a healthy amount of time, because that's ultimately we want. And not that we should put time limits on it, but ultimately we want our kiddos to be able to bounce back and not have to spend a whole day there or half a day. Hopefully be able to take a healthy amount of time and then come back and start to feel a little bit better.
I want to talk about giving. I think that should be another episode. The dynamic of giving in our society is such an important one. And also, it's interesting because it's this balance, especially with women. I've heard of giving to yourself and teaching that you don't have to give it all. But I also think our culture is just all me, 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 me. We'll do another one about this around the holidays. Future episode alert.
Yes. And I was thinking with your preteen, not preteen, you could just practice being grateful now. And then when it's in that stage,
I could start weaving that in. I'm so
yeah,
grateful that my teenager is calling me a bitch. I can just start now.
because it means she really loves me.
She knows that I will forgive. Yes.
There you go. Because I'm a forgiving person because I'm forgiving.
I think this has been a good conversation. Hopefully, just reminded you, even if it's just a small reminder of the importance of gratitude in our life. And we are in the season, so hopefully you are dipping into it. But if not, start small. You can start with 3 a day, or you can do the challenge, the 7 day challenge that Jen did, 10 a day, adding 10 more each day until you get to day 770. There is so much science out there, and I can't emphasize enough a small practice. I would say even a 30-day challenge of just trying to do 3 to 5 a day can it really makes a difference, and it only takes 5 minutes. So
You could do it in the shower, in the car with the kids.
I love doing it in the car. I just think that's such a good time because most of us have car time or commute time in general.
Even 15 minutes, it's enough
Mhm.
to do it. And share your practices with us too.
Yes.
Have them.
Share your practices. I know there's all kinds of fun ones for kids. So if we get a few people sharing what practice they do with kids, we could probably do another episode of different gratitude practices to practice with kiddos and or for your fertility, pregnancy, postpartum journey as well. All right. We'll see you in the
We're
next
grateful for
episode.
you.
Very grateful for you. Yes, we're grateful for you. And we would love for you to be a part of our community. So if you're not already, join that. You can check it out on our website, justthis.site. And then we can hang out in gratitude together even more.
I love that. I love that.